Dick here with today's LifeApp. Today I want to talk about continuing in your purpose with the call of God in your life, with the purpose for your business, with the purpose of your career, or maybe you're in full-time ministry. Whatever it is, the continuing with the passion and the purpose that God has given to you. I want to use a scripture here from Judges chapter 2. Judges chapter 2 is an interesting book in the Bible. It contains 7 cycles of 70 years, 490 years, and they're cycles of success and failure, and often tied to leadership. And Judges 2 verse 10 says this. Let me just read it to you. Eventually that entire generation died and was buried. Then another generation grew up that didn't know anything of God or the work that He had done for Israel. Interesting comment. This is actually in the 2nd chapter of Judges, as it introduces this whole book about the cycles of success and failure. And it says about a generation that grew up, didn't know anything about what God had done for the previous generation, and so their focus and attention was completely turned away from serving God. It means that they were not as successful as they were. I want to give you some of the reasons for this, and this is a challenge to me. And it is a challenge to everyone in my generation, but then as well, a challenge to the generation behind us. You know, the first thing that the book of Judges points out is that this group of people, their obedience was incomplete. That is to say that they had instructions from God. In this case, it was to go in and possess the land. God had given clear instructions to Joshua, and He had said, now go in and remove these people and displace them, because I've said that they need to be displaced, and go and occupy the land. Occupy was a very proactive process. It means to go in, take over the land, make it productive and fruitful, and build cities and communities and businesses. And so that was the instruction. But what happened is they got partway through the process, and then they got saying, you know what, this is work, you know. Let's just take some vacation, and let's we've got quite a bit of land. Let's just work this land. So they weren't complete in their obedience. Too often when we set our hand to a task, we don't do it with the measure of discipline and commitment that we need to finish it to the end. That was the first thing. But the second thing is this. They had no sense of purpose. The word that God had given to Joshua had not been transferred down to this next generation, which was go possess all of the land. Do you know that God actually intended them to have a much, much bigger possession than they had at that moment? Think about that for your business. Think about that for your career. Think about that for your ministry. Think about that for whatever you're doing. God has a measure already put out for you. And His measure was bigger than what those individuals in Judges chapter 2 realized. And so they fell short of that, and they lost a sense of purpose. See, that sense of purpose keeps that goal. Oh, my business is going to be this big. You have to keep that in mind. Here's probably the third thing that is most troubling, is they went from occupying to peaceful coexistence. Peaceful coexistence is, well, let's make a deal. You know, I've heard people say this, actually. You know, if I don't do this and this, the devil won't bug me and I won't bug the devil, you know. Now, they may not say that because they know theologically that's wrong. But essentially, that's what they do. I've heard people say, I just want to go to a church where there's no hassle, you know, that we're not being challenged in our giving, we're not being challenged with a vision, we're not building a building. I just want to have, you know, a nice church and go show up Sunday morning. Well, you know, there's a part of that that's fine. You know, I'm not criticizing that. But it could be that that's a reflection of peaceful coexistence instead of occupying. Occupying is when we are taking territory. You are expanding your measure. That is when you are most effective. Hey, that's today's LifeApp.